This week we are talking about Camino apps, Camino guides, and Camino maps. Why? It's a very common question online. People ask, which one's best? Do I need one? Let's talk about it this week, coming right up. Okay, so Camino apps and guides, do you need them? Yes and no. I'm going to mention one at the end that you definitely should get and make sure you have. But I would generally say no, depending on which route you're walking. If you're walking a very popular route like the Camino Frances, you almost just follow the crowd. And you probably realize if you're planning your first Camino, there are all sorts of signs along the way. I've got a few hanging up around my house. You get these yellow arrows everywhere. They're painted on power poles, on curbs, showing you which way to go. Very often you'll get the scallop shell symbol. I always wonder, I think it's this end points towards Santiago generally. So you get the scallop shell symbols. You of course get the little stone things along the way, the real ones being about 1 meter high, of course, majones, I think they're called in Spanish. See lots and lots of those. You may even see some rare things such as teddy bears with arrows on them. Now, this is Mr. Bean. He's my mascot who's been on a few Caminos. You may not see many teddy bears. But the point being that you get lots and lots of guides along the way on the popular routes, generally. So Camino Frances, Camino Portuguese, all of those, lots and lots of arrows. You can really just follow the arrows. I don't want to digress too much, but occasionally you'll come into a village and there'll be like a fork in the arrows and you go, which one to follow? And occasionally some unscrupulous bar owner has put their own arrows to take you past their bar or something. But look, generally it's very, very easy to follow. But people love to ask about guidebooks and apps and all the rest of it. So I'll go through a selection. I've got a whole bunch here. I'm not promoting any particular one, no commercial interest or anything. I'll tell you which one I like and why. And then at the end, I'll tell you something that you definitely need to get. Now, in no particular order, I have loads of guidebooks. Most of them are probably a bit out of date now. I've got to make sure that. So this is the Cicerone series. These are very popular. Most of the guidebooks have similar stuff in them. There's lots of, things about sightseeing and the history and maps of where to go and accommodation listings. They're all generally got that. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to carry that in your pack? Some people do. I don't. Who's this one? Camino de Santiago, Village to Village Guide. I think this is quite a popular one. I'll put it, if you want to buy any of these, and again, no commercial interest at all here, but a very easy place to buy them is at Eva's Forum. He stocks most of them. There's another Cicerone one, just for the Francis, smaller one. These are very popular. Wise Pilgrim. Oh, just going to get these right. So this one's the Camino Frances. So these are the hard copy ones. Fairly sort of typical guidebook with maps and descriptions and accommodation listings. I've got a few of those. That's from the Via de la Plata. This is a good German one for the Via de la Plata, if you speak German. A very popular one for the Camino Frances is John Brealey's guide. Dear John, rest in peace. I really love these guides, and I've mentioned them before. The reason being, I love the maps. John was a cartographer by profession, and you can tell the maps in the guidebooks are really good. They're clear, precise, no fluff, only what you need. So there's those ones. I've got lots of his, Portuguese, English. Invierno. Oh, this is one I bought a few years ago, which is a French guide called Miam Miam Dodo, which I think is Eat, Eat, Sleep, Sleep, or something like that. Not so useful, that one. It's mainly maps. So, of course, would you want to be carrying all of those? No. They're all on your phone these days. Yeah, the Brealey guides resisted for years actually going digital, but they're now on phones as well. So I tend to Oh, this is not going to show up, is it? No, never mind. I'll put up all the logos of the different apps here, and you can see probably, I don't really want to sort of plug a particular guide here, but I think it's fair to say that the Wise Pilgrim apps are very popular. Also, Gerald Kelly's guide for the Via de la Plata is very popular. I've used that. And one that I use a lot is Gronza. And I love Gronza. So I'm going to show a few screenshots of Gronza. It's not like some of the other apps. So on Wise Pilgrim, for example, most of the Camino apps are pretty similar. You open them up, you get, there'll be a map showing you where to go. Very often there's a live map, so you can see in real time where you are in relation to the Camino path, which is great for navigation. Quite handy on the more remote routes. You're going to have the town listings, and it will show you what's in the town. Is there a cafe? Is there a shop? All that kind of stuff, which is really handy. The Wise Pilgrim app now has, on the accommodation listings, the ability to actually sort of click a link and make a booking direct. I think it'll either take you through to booking.com, or he even actually has a little translation sort of module where you can send a WhatsApp message to the accommodation as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's on Wise Pilgrim. So apps like that are really good. Which ones do I use? Well, I'm embarrassed to say, if I look on my phone, I've got most of them. I've got Wise Pilgrim, about 6 different ones. I've got one called Buen Camino. I've got the Via de la Plata one, loads of them. I kind of collect guidebooks and apps. Do I use them much? No. I'm terrible. I buy them with the best of intentions. I find, to be honest, the print copies now, I just find that the print has reduced so much. I find them really hard to read as I get older with my eyesight. The digital apps are great because you can kind of zoom in and things like that. If I think back to my last Camino, which apps did I use? I definitely used Gerald Kelly's on the Via de la Plata. I definitely used Wise Pilgrim on the Invierno and the Finisterre. And I would kind of switch between them. I might be looking for accommodation and I don't find one on one app, and I'll go on to another app and find something on that one. They're fairly inexpensive. So, I have a few on my phone. One of the things that I would stress, though, when we're thinking of sort of apps and guides and things like that, is make sure you have a weather app. Very important. So I have one on my phone. It's just the standard weather one that comes up. It uses your location to tell you what the weather is in the area. I see we've got 14 degrees where I'm living at the moment. Feels like it. So I look at that a lot because I want to see what the weather's like over the next couple of days. I want to see when sunrise is, when sunset. So if I know if I'm walking in daylight, particularly I want to see temperatures and things like that. So if it's particularly hot, I'll be wanting to see what's the hot part of the day and what time would I like to finish by to not get too hot and so on. So a weather app is really good, along with all of the Camino apps. I do use mapping apps as well. So a lot of the Camino apps, like Wise Pilgrim, I keep mentioning that one, but I don't use a lot of them, and I have used that one, and it seems to be quite popular. So a lot of them will have mapping applications on them, accessing Google Maps, I presume, or other mapping software, which is really handy because certainly on the more remote routes, it's nice to be able to sort of pull that out, see where you are in relation to the Camino. So, for example, on my last walk on the Via de la Plata and the Invierno, fairly remote, there were no other pilgrims to follow, not necessarily many arrows or anything like that. There'd be a few sort of junctions that I'd come to and wouldn't be sure which way to go. Ted, are you watching this? You weren't watching an app coming out. Oh, I forget where we were walking to, but yeah, he was behind me. No, he was in front of me, and then suddenly 2 hours later he was behind me. He diverted and ended up lost. Not lost, geographically challenged. So mapping apps are quite handy, particularly on the more remote ones. But I generally use a specific mapping app rather than a Camino app. Don't know why. I think I like things that are not too complicated or overly cluttered with features. So, for example, a mapping app that's really popular is Wikilogs. And I tried that for the first week or so on my last Camino. I found it overly complicated for me. It had lots of features that I didn't really need. And it was just not that simple to use. People love it. You know, I'm not slagging it off or anything like that. People do love it. It's very popular. There's another one that's really popular called Mappy, mappycz.cz, I think. I presume it's from Czechoslovakia. There was another one. The one I used mainly last time was Maps.me, maps.me. That's recently been bought out, and someone put me onto one just called Organic Maps, which looks really good, and it's a freebie as well, just by donation. So I'm going to try Organic Maps next time. Now, you might be, if you're thinking using a mapping app, you might be thinking, well, how the heck do I use that? Where do you get, let's not get technical here, but you kind of want GPS tracks. So a track is a mapping file, which when you load up into your mapping app, will show you the route that you're going to walk, simply, okay? And where do you get these tracks? Well, a lot of people get them from Wikilogs. I don't. I haven't got the time to wade through hundreds and thousands of tracks that other people have walked, trying to work out, did this person walk the right way? Or am I going to get the track for the guy who got lost and decided to spend 2 hours walking around in circles? So I actually source my tracks from, I think it's a Spanish website, and I'll put the link down below. So how does that work? I basically jump on there, as I've done for our next Camino, the Camino Madrid, and I download all the Camino Madrid tracks. There might be 20 files. I put them on my phone. I have my favorite mapping app on the phone, which is going to be Organic Maps. And basically all I do is I go into, on an Android, it's called My Files. I go to where the tracks are. I click on one of the tracks. So for example, where's my Madrid ones? I should have rehearsed this. GPS tracks, Madrid. And then I've got the first track, which is up to Tres Cantos. And I basically click on that track, and it's saying, what do I want to open it in? Mapas de España, Organic Maps, Google Earth, Magic Earth, Spain Topo Maps, all the different things I've got on my phone. And I'm using Organic Maps. So I just click on that, and bingo, it brings up that track, and I can see exactly where I am. There's a little dot where I am on the map and where the Camino track is, and I just start walking. And I've got in the habit now of just having that running. It's in my pocket, and every now and again I'll just bring it out and make sure I'm still on the right path, or if I come to a junction in the middle of a forest or something and I'm not sure which way I'm going to go, I pull this out and just double check. So, but on the more popular routes like the Francis and the Portuguese and those sort of routes, you don't really need mapping apps. This is more for the remote ones. So we've talked about guidebooks, which are an interesting read, although I wouldn't necessarily want to carry one. John Brearley would hate me saying this, but on my very first Camino, I tore out the maps from the front of his guidebook. Let me just show you what I mean. In the front of the Camino Francis Brearley guide, for example, you've got this little fold out with maps of all the various stages. So you've got the whole Camino there in just a tiny little fold out map. And I carried that and made little notes on it, like, you know, where I was going to stay and things like that, which was really good. I don't want to carry the whole book. A lot easier now, of course, so I do carry a few apps on my phone. Don't really access them very often, maybe to look for accommodation. The one that I look at, though, is Gronza, and you can access that just using a browser on your phone, and I'll put some screenshots up. So first of all, you can open it up and look at all of the Camino routes. You can click on the particular route that you're going to walk. That one will come up, and then you'll see all the various stages, and you can click on that and see the stage that you're going to be walking. Under the stage map, you can click the plus button, and you'll see the profile, see what the hills are going to be like. And under that, you've got all the towns and villages listed with all the accommodation, and it's got a good range of accommodation. and it will indicate to you whether they're hotels, hostels, donativos, how many beds they've got, things like that. And if you're into sort of private rooms and things like that, a lot of them will have booking.com links as well. Importantly, if you're staying in places where you can book, it also gives you the phone numbers, so you could ring them or use WhatsApp to call them and make a booking. So Gronza it's the one I access all the time when I'm walking, and a mapping app. Although Gronza does have their own maps app now. I haven't used it. I probably should have had it ready here to show you, but I prefer the mapping software. The reason being that using the one like Organic Maps, it's like Google Maps coming up with the Camino route superimposed on it. And so you get all the information around the area as well, which is really handy. So you can kind of zoom in and see where the churches are and the cafes and things like that, which is really cool. So those are the apps that I use. Now, I was going to mention one that you've really got to have. Absolutely essential, I reckon. And that is Alert Cops. What is Alert Cops? It's a Spanish police force app, basically a police app that you can access if you need any sort of help. So if you are a subject of robbery or violence or whatever else, you can actually get straight through to the police using Alert Cops. My understanding is that there will be a multilingual person at the end of the phone to take your inquiry. And it has all sorts of handy features on it. So I would definitely have Alert Cops on your phone. The emergency number in Spain, of course, is 112, like it is mostly around Europe. But the Alert Cops app is just a much quicker, easier way to get help when you need it. So always have that on your home screen. That's the vital one, I think. So just a recap, do you need apps, guides, maps? No, not really, particularly on the more popular ones. It's like just follow those 100 people in front of you. Camino Francis can be a bit like that. You might want to get a guide just as background reading so that you can work out things that you might want to go and look at and see along the way. They're quite handy for sort of researching accommodation and that type of thing. Some sort of mapping software is handy, so either access that through a Camino guide or specific mapping software, and I'll put the link down below to the mapping software that I use and where I get the Camino tracks. Again, no commercial interest, but you can have a look at those. And one final thing, I'm a bit old school, and I've shown this before. What's the mapping app that I use? It's a printout from Gronza. I got this tip from a pilgrim that I met walking the Via de la Plata, and she had 2 sets of these. I thought I was an overplanner. She had a spare set, which she very kindly gave me. And I think it's a wonderful idea. So printed, basically 3 to a page, double-sided, very light to carry. And the beauty of this is I would sit in the evening looking at the stage, in hard copy, what's coming up. What I do now is I actually print the elevations under it. So we've got the map here where I've scribbled notes. Under it, I now put the elevation as well, so I can see where the hills are and things like that. And I just scribble on it. If I booked an albergue or a hostel or something like that, I'll make little notes on it. Like this one's saying, Big Hill, better leave early tomorrow. And I just find that it's a handy way. I suppose I should be able to do digital notes or something, but there's something nice about being able to flick through the pages, particularly on a more remote route, which is not maybe that easy, and it's a bit of a challenge logistically. I like to be able to look at, okay, where am I going tomorrow? Oh, that's going to be a long section. And then I flick through a few days and I go, there's a few long sections coming up. And then I can sit down and sort of think, how can I break that one into short sections? And it's just a lot easier when you've got it all printed out in front of you. That's me. So there we go. Apps, maps, guides, loads of them out there. Again, no sort of commercial prompting here, but Evar's forum store is a handy place to get them. You can browse them and buy them somewhere else if you want. But I'll put the link to that. I'll put the link to the mapping software that I use, the link to where I get the GPS tracks. Any other information you want, let me know, and I'll stick links in the description down below. But that's it. It's not that complicated. You're not walking through the Amazon. Pretty well signposted. Where's the even up there? Look, this is on the Via de la Plata. There's little signs everywhere. So you probably, it's hard to get lost, I guess is what I'm saying. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions about finding your way on the Camino maps, apps and guides and things, just ask about down below. Tell me which ones that you like. Did you manage to get lost? Tell me about that. Shall I tell you about Pat getting lost? No, that wouldn't be fair. Yeah, why not? I think I've told this story before, where it was on the Camino Francis towards the end. I think it was just before Melita. And I had stopped, I think, to take some photographs, and Pat went on ahead. She gets a bit impatient on the Camino. And I said, look, you just keep going, follow the arrows. And I walked about another K, and then just before Melita, you come off a country road, you go down a steep hill to a little bridge, and there's a bar there, and then you kind of cross the river and up to Melita. And I got down this hill by the bar, and that's right. I'd said to Pat, wait by the bridge. No, Pat. Oh, crap. So I tried calling her. No, I don't know, couldn't get through to her on the phone. So I ended up racing back up the hill to the road, and I looked at the turnoff that she should have taken. And of course, there was a yellow arrow, but a bush had grown up in front of it. So she'd missed the arrow and went straight on and ended up walking down towards a quarry or something. But anyway, I found her coming back up the road. You can get lost if you really try. But anyway, I'm waffling. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.